Hey Line, hi folks, it's Lev. Welcome back to another video. For those of you who are new, I use him pronouns. Today's video, I wanted to talk about things that I wish cisgender people knew, and it includes heterosexual cisgender people, and it also includes non-heterosexual cisgender people, because for me, experiences of being cis, before I came out as trans, experiences of being cis and not straight are vastly different to being trans and gender diverse. So I wanted to make this video things I wish cisgender people knew. First point I can think of is that trans and gender diverse people are not like objects of curiosity where anyone can just ask us whatever questions they want and not consider the fact that we are human, we deserve respect, and that we have boundaries. For example, I have been asked before what I have downstairs, and just straight up asking me, not relevant to anything. This was actually at a hospital. I was at emergency room. The nurse who took me in was asking me what I have downstairs, and had nothing to do with the reason why I presented myself to hospital in the first place. And she was asking if I had like breast removal surgery before, which is top surgery, and that also has nothing to do with the reason why I presented myself to hospital. So just not everyone, some people just disregarding the fact that we deserve basic human respect, and some people ask trans and gender diverse people questions that they don't ask cisgender people. Like, would we go up to a cisgender person and be like, what do you have downstairs? Do you have a dick or a vagina? Like, no, that doesn't happen. But then some people go up to trans and gender diverse people and ask that blatantly, and I'm just like, no, we are not objects of curiosity. I'm just gonna make a note. I'm gonna say trans just to shorten it, but when I say trans, I mean all trans and gender diverse people, both binary trans people and non-binary trans people. So I'm just gonna say trans to make it short, but it means trans and gender diverse people. Back to my first point, yeah, just thinking about questions we ask trans people before asking it, and asking, I think a good thing to ask ourselves is, would I ask a cisgender person this question? The answer is likely no. So it's like, don't ask trans and gender diverse people that, because yeah, just think about respect and whether it's appropriate and that sort of basic human what am I saying? Respect, basic respect for humans, really, and not invading boundaries and asking super inappropriate questions. Second point is about like rights and stuff. I do want to say that trans people achieving equal rights as cisgender people does not take away the rights of cisgender people. It doesn't. Like, trans people achieving equal rights is gonna strip cisgender people of their existing rights. Like, me as a trans person getting rights, I'm not gonna take away your existing rights. It's not. It's just making, like, cisgender people have rights like this, and then trans people are down here fighting for rights to get up here. Us getting up here is not gonna drag you down like this. It's not magically, oh, trans people have rights, and then the rights of cisgender people vanish. It doesn't work like that. The society we live in already, like, cisgender people inherently have rights for just being cisgender, like existing rights just for being cisgender without having to fight for it. I'm saying, yeah, don't be afraid of trans people achieving rights, because it is not taking away any of your existing rights. The third thing is, this might be obvious, but I really feel the need to say it, is that trans people are human. We are not some strange extraterrestrial creature from some foreign universe in outer space, like freaking 5 million kilometers away from Earth. We are human beings, and when like talking to us, I get that some people get nervous talking to trans people, but just talk to us as you would talk to cisgender people. literally. Just talk to us like you would a cisgender person. Like trans people eat, sleep, shower, have hobbies, have needs. You know, we work, we study, we play sport, we do things that cisgender people do. We are all humans, so we all literally have the same basic human needs. And the only difference between cis and trans people is our gender identity. More specifically, we are not the gender that we were assigned at birth. Even though cisgender men and trans men are both men, trans men were not assigned male at birth, while cis men are assigned male at birth. That's the primary difference. Either way, we're both human. The fourth point I want to make is that it's okay to make mistakes. Like, I get maybe some trans people may take great offense to people making mistakes, but it's okay to make mistakes. And I, as a trans guy, have made mistakes before. Like, I have accidentally misgendered people before because of my habit of, for example, like there was someone who was very masculine looking who used it, they pronouns, and I accidentally used he, and then I corrected myself immediately saying, oh shit, sorry, it's they. I make mistakes too. Just because I'm a trans guy, it doesn't mean like I'm immune to making mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes. The important thing is to correct it where we recognize our mistake. Like, another thing is to not make a big deal out of it. Like, if we accidentally misgender someone, just apologize and quickly correct it. We don't want to make a dramatic scene because that tends to make the trans person more uncomfortable. Like, if someone accidentally misgendered me, like, I'm cool with someone saying just like, oh sorry, he, that's okay. I would feel extremely comfortable if they just were in public setting, for example, and then just make a big deal out of it, like, I'm shit sorry, I misgendered you, oh my god, sorry. That would make me feel extremely uncomfortable. It's okay to make mistakes, just apologize and just quickly correct it and then move on from it. Like, it's okay. And it's the same with like asking questions. Sometimes folks may not know like what is an okay question to ask trans people and what is not an okay question to ask trans people. Google can help, but I guess also depends on the relationship you have with the trans person. If one of my friends asked me about top surgery, I would not have no problem answering it. But if some random person I don't know just came up to me and asked like, have you had breast removal surgery, I'll be like, what the fuck? So there's also that factor. But yeah, if you don't know and then you ask a trans person a question, like, and they say it's not okay to ask the question, just apologize and just keep that in mind for next time, instead of again making a big scene out of it. Like, it's okay to make mistakes and we don't know everything. And leading from that point, that's not to say that I don't react in a what the fuck way when someone asks me an inappropriate question. But like, I don't hold a grudge against it. I just react like that. I'm like, what the fuck? Or like, what? And then like, this like a few seconds of like disgust, but then it dies down really quickly for me. Like, I don't hold a grudge against people for it. I should also say that like with using someone's new name and pronouns, for example, someone in your life that you may know before they came out as trans or before they started going by a different name and different pronouns, and we've been using a certain set of name and pronouns for how many months or years, it's okay to take time to get used to the new name and pronouns. Like, it's habitual. Like, we're familiar with using this name and pronouns, and then now we're gonna use this new name and pronouns. It's okay to take time to get used to it. For me, the important thing is that people actively try to remember new name and pronouns, because when I started going by he, him, and started going by Lev, yes, people in my life did accidentally misgender me and accidentally dead name me, but I know it's not an intentional thing because they've known me for so long by she her pronouns and my dead name, and I'm just like, yo, I'm going by left now, he him please. I don't hold a grudge against it either. Like, it hurts, and I try to not take it personally. It hurts hearing my dead name and being referred to by she her, but then now that rarely happens because the people in my life have gotten used to calling me Lev and using he and pronouns. So yeah, it's okay to take time to break out of the habit of using old name and old pronouns and then using someone's new name and new pronouns. I forgot what point I was to, but the next point is to please don't police trans people into like certain boxes or what pronouns they can and cannot use, or like how they identify, and like policing trans people's identities. Like we don't police cisgender people's identities, but then cisgender people police trans identities, and it gets very frustrating and it puts a lot of pressure on trans people to fit in a certain box, and it's not ideal because, for example, when I was navigating through my journey and trying to figure out, understand who I was, I felt a lot of pressure to fit into one of the boxes, like non-binary or trans guy, or one of the specific identity boxes. I put a lot of pressure on myself because that's who I thought, that's what I've been like taught subconsciously, is that I have to fit into one of these predefined boxes, and the boxes are like defined by certain stereotypes, and it's like, okay, if you're a man you have to look, dress, act, behave a certain way. If you're a woman you have to dress, act, look a certain way. If you're this identity you have to be this way. And this is what I mean by policing. Like, just let us live our life really and do what makes us happy and makes us comfortable, and there is no need to police trans people and what we can or cannot do, or or policing the language we use to describe our identities and live experiences. Leading from that point, I just thought of another point, like the whole policing people into boxes thing. It can make trans people feel like they're not trans enough, like, which then plays into not so good outcomes, like a lot of stress, which can impact on people's mental health in a very negative way. It's like a chain reaction. Like, I don't want my fellow trans pals and folks to feel like they're not trans enough or not non-binary enough or not trans man enough or whatever it is, because of the expectations, the stereotypes, the rules that cisgender people place on how certain people should act, dress, behave, present. The next point is about like the medical system and how there's so much fucking... I'm using profanity in this video because I'm actually feeling frustrated thinking about this. Fucking trans gatekeeping, for example, me accessing testosterone, I had to go through months of consults with my GP and he had to do like comprehensive assessments, and I had to, in a way, prove that I am trans, and that I had to prove that I needed to go on testosterone because I experienced gender dysphoria. I also had to prove that I had gender dysphoria in order to get on T. If I went to my GP and said, you know, I feel so dysphoric, I want to get on testosterone, he's not going to give me a script, and I walk out with a script to testosterone and I get my injection on the same day as I come in and say I need testosterone because I have gender dysphoria. It doesn't work like that. And for top surgery, I'm in the process of getting top surgery, I have to do WPATH gender assessments to prove that I have well-documented persistent gender dysphoria in order to get top surgery. Like I have to see a psych, they have to do a gender assessment on me. I have to do this 25-page long-ass assessment of different tests and stuff about my gender and my mental health, and there's just like all these fucking barriers. Like I have to jump through hurdle just to get the top surgery itself, not to mention all of the surgery bills and the costs with consults and everything. And I hate how gender affirming surgery is classed as like cosmetic surgery. That's a whole different rant that I'm not gonna go on right now. Sort of forgot where I was going with that, but yes, trans gatekeeping. Like, for example, cisgender people who want to get different surgeries, like people want bigger breasts or bigger butts or like lip surgery or eye surgery, whatever cosmetic surgery cis people want, they don't have to go through like months of assessments or like consults and have to see different professionals to prove stuff in order to get whatever surgery that they want. It's like, my understanding is like if you have cash or you have money, you just go to them and then you get in and you do your surgery. You don't have to do, yeah, there might be a wait time and stuff, but what I'm trying to say is there's no like having to prove certain things in order to get the surgery you want. But trans people who want to get gender affirming surgery have to go through 10 million hoops and just to get gender affirming surgery. So this is a systemic thing that exists in the system of the society. So, but it's still so fucking annoying, and I'm gonna stop my rant now and save it for a different video. The next point, it should be obvious, but it's not obvious to everyone, is that being trans is not a choice. I did not choose to be transgender, just like you did not choose to be cisgender. And trans people do not switch genders. We've always been who we are, and we discover our truth at different points in our life. Like some people might understand their identity early on, or some people might understand later in their life, but there is no switching of gender and there is no choosing to be trans. Like, being trans is hard in a world where trans people don't have equal rights, have to jump through 10 billion barriers and hoops just to access services and what we need. Discrimination, bullying, all of this shit. We don't choose to make our life harder by experiencing all of these adversities. It's like we don't wake up one day and be like, my life is so boring, I want to be trans because why not? It's not a choice. Being trans is not a choice. Our gender identity is not a choice. Next point, I think it's very important, pronouns. Pronouns are not something to be afraid of. Like I've seen like some trans people react to posts online, and people seem, from what I've seen, some people seem to be very adverse to pronouns and saying, what are pronouns? I don't use pronouns and stuff like that, just dismissing the whole thing. And I think that deep down these people are just unsure and sort of project this uncertainty and fear in the form of bashing pronouns and trans people. The truth is that everyone uses pronouns. There is no one on this earth who does not use pronouns. Everyone uses pronouns. And pronouns are not just he, him, they, them, she, her, etc. Pronouns are also you, I, we, those words too. Everyone uses pronouns. And it's okay to be unsure of something. Like, again, we don't have to know everything. It's okay to make mistakes, and we don't have to know about every single thing in like every single community and every single human lived experience. Like, I don't know everything, and I don't know everything about trans experiences either, because I know my own experiences very well, but I don't know everyone else's experience as well, and not all trans people experience the exact same thing as well. So yeah, pronouns, it's not something to be afraid of. It's language, it's words. It's just words, and it's not harmful words. It's not hurtful words. I think living in this world, it's very, I guess, easy for cis folks to sort of not be consciously aware of the concept of pronouns, and I was one of those people, to be honest, before I started learning about trans experiences and come to realize that I am not cisgender. I knew she, her pronouns, but then the whole concept of pronouns did not cross my mind whatsoever. Like, it was so natural, people calling me she, her, and then I used he, him, she, her for people who I used he, him for people who I thought were guys, and she, her for people who thought were women. I also made a lot of assumptions when I was younger, and I didn't ask for pronouns because I didn't really know what it was. Yes, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, it's very easy for cis folks to, not be aware of this. And when it's raised for the first time, or it's the first time that someone has been exposed to, like, been consciously brought to the attention of these are pronouns and it's important to ask because of XYZ, because you don't want to misgender people, and it's respect, it might be overwhelming, and that's very understandable, because it's like, what is this foreign thing that I've never really understood, and you're asking me for my pronouns, and I can see why some people might be deterred by it. And I do encourage everyone to sort of break out of the idea that pronouns are this awful thing, and that it's something to be transphobic towards trans people about. It's just words and language, and all, like, I want, at least, and I'm sure a lot of other trans people, is just to use the language that is suitable and appropriate to us, i.e. correct pronouns. Just using, and language, if you think about it, is literally sounds. Words are a bunch of letters from the alphabet joined together, and words have different sounds. And I don't like being referred to by she, her. I don't like hearing that in the context of me, but I like hearing he, him in the context of referring to me. And it's just, words. It's just words. Just be respectful of the words we use. Another thing is to start questioning, and this is something I'm also doing and continuing to do, is question where certain beliefs, ideas, stereotypes come from, and whether it's helpful anymore. Like, I'm breaking out of the belief that all men look a certain way, all women look a certain way, all non-binary people look a certain way. Like, those stereotypes, I'm breaking out of the cycle of seeing someone thinking, oh, man, woman, non-binary person, based on their looks, because it's not very helpful. And that, if I keep living in that sort of mindset of identify people in that way, it just leads to misgendering and a lot of assumptions about someone that I don't know. So I'm identifying these things as it comes up in my head, breaking out of it slowly by saying, for example, if the thought comes up, I'll be like, nope, just, they're a person, that's a person, that's it. You don't know anything else, they're just a person who dresses masculine or feminine, that's it. I don't know anything about the person. And something I'm also trying to get into the habit of is saying person instead of he, him, they, based on how someone looks. Like if someone looks like a stereotypical man, I'm avoiding saying he and instead saying this person, or at least they. If I use pronouns, I try to use they, but I avoid pronouns. If I don't know someone's pronouns, I say this person, that person, or someone driving a car. Like there was someone who was tailgating me yesterday and horning at me. I'll just be like, this driver, and don't have to gender anyone or use any gendered pronouns for anything. Oh yeah, back to the whole beliefs thing. For example, trans people are abnormal, trans people are a freak, trans people are like monsters, trans people are abomination to society, or trans people don't deserve equal rights. Stuff like this. The very unhelpful things that go around, that the misinformation about trans people, the stereotypes, the bullshit basically. Asking yourselves, where did this come from? And also asking, what evidence do I have to support this? Like, making claims about trans people, making claims about trans people and like not having evidence to back it up. It's just, stop spreading misinformation and rubbish about trans people. I do encourage you, if you've never like met a trans person and actually build a connection with a trans person, I encourage you to try and do that. Get to know a trans person, like not just what you hear on the internet or what you see on the internet or the media and all this rubbish. Get to know a trans person as a human being. And I'm very confident that a lot of these stereotypes and false beliefs that we all hold in our heads will be challenged and even better, broken. Something I just thought of is like, people being different from one another is not necessarily a bad thing. And I say necessarily because if someone is different and they're like a terrorist, for example, or they're like a serial killer, or someone who brings harm to others, that is not okay, and I don't condone that, and I think that is absolutely disgusting. The behavior, like that big difference is not good and hurtful to society. But in terms of being trans, how are we hurting cis people? I'm asking, like, if you're a cis person who would like to have this conversation with me, please feel free to leave comments down below. I do want to know, as a trans person, how are trans people hurting cis people? And why don't we deserve equal rights? And why don't we deserve to access the medical care we need? Why don't we deserve to access gender-affirming surgery without going through 10 million barriers? Like, why? We're human. We want to live life. We want to live authentically. We want to be ourselves. We want to be loved. We want to be cared about, just like cis people. Being cared about, being loved, feeling worthy, feeling a sense of belonging, are all fundamental human needs, regardless of our gender, culture, background. It's like a basic human need, like food and water. We can survive without meeting these psychological needs. Like, if someone was just completely neglected and had food and water, yes, they would physically be alive still, but psychologically, that's why like abuse and neglect is so bad, but that's a different topic. So yeah, we all have fundamental human needs. I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with this point? Being different is not necessarily a bad thing, and yeah, I don't understand why trans people are being given so much shit for being different, and I don't understand. And yes, I'm actually serious about starting a comment discussion about what is it about how trans people are hurting cis people. We're not we're not hurting anyone for we're not hurting anyone by being ourselves. Maybe you may not understand our identity or our experiences, but that is no reason to discriminate against us. Like, trans people don't deserve to be treated as less than human for having different lived experiences. If you think about it, that's literally all it comes down to. Trans and cis people have different lived experiences of gender identity, or just different lived experiences in general, because cis people don't experience what trans people experience. That's one of the foundations of it, if you think about it. We're all human, like I said, we're all human, we all have the same basic needs, and we just all have different lived experiences. And some people are treated less favorably for having certain lived experiences than other people. Another point is that I lost what point number I'm up to now. Another point is that not all trans people share the same experiences. For example, I'm a trans man. The next trans person down the road, trans man, could have vastly different experiences to me, despite us sharing the same identity of being trans men. Trans experiences are different. Not everyone experiences the exact same thing. For example, some people experience chest dysphoria, some people experience bone dysphoria. Not everyone experiences chest dysphoria, not everyone experiences bottom dysphoria, not everyone hates every part of themselves. Not everyone medically transitions, some people just socially transition. Not everyone gets like all of the surgeries, because we may not feel the need to get all of the surgeries or do all of the things that help us feel most comfortable in our own bodies. Yeah, like for example, some people may go on hormones but not get gender affirming surgery. Some people may get gender affirming surgery but not go on hormones, etc. Either way, all trans people are valid regardless of what they do or do not do. Just because a trans person does not medically transition, it does not mean that the person is less valid as trans compared to someone who has medically transitioned. For example, if there's a trans man who has not gone on testosterone, it does not mean the person is less valid as a man. Diversity exists within trans people like cisgender people. Like, not all cis people are the same, not all trans people are the same. Not all cis people have the same lived experiences, same with trans people. Not all trans people share the same lived experience. We might, but not always. So there is diversity, and that's all part of being human. Like, there exists diversity. Not everyone is exactly the same. The last point I want to make is that there are very simple steps you can take as a cisgender person to be allies to trans people, and that's what the next video I'm going to make is going to be about. Thanks for watching, folks, and I will see you in the next video.